how do I push myself as a performer to take what I've done to the next step? And whether that means winning gold or not winning gold, I'm okay with that. I just want to challenge myself because I do love this.
Big time for you and for the women's division that we're finally getting evolution again. And so really just how excited are you for this to one be happening again, but for also for you to be part of it as well?
Okay. The first one was such a success and so special to all of us. I know the second one will be no different. And I do think that because this doesn't happen every year, it adds even more anticipation because it is something special. It's not something that we take for granted. Like it is special. It is a privilege to have an all women's pay-per-view. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, and you mentioned that this is like, the second one, and it's been 7 years since we've had the last one, and it feels like the women's division has, like, drastically changed, in that time frame. So what would you say are, like, the biggest differences in what it was like, then versus what it's like now?
I think it's simple. It's just that the division has more depth now. More talent, more women coming up from NXT, more women from around the world, more representation, more experience all around. And I think that will show on this evolution, the evolution 2 since the first one. Like you'll be able to see the depth, see how many different kinds of characters, see how many storylines from NXT, Raw, and SmackDown, how many more titles that we have. Then I think there was just the Raw and the SmackDown Women's Championship. Now we have the tag titles, we have the US title, we have the Intercontinental title, we have the NXT title, the NXT tag titles. Um, it's just really exciting. There's just so many more opportunities now for the women, and it'll show on Evolution too.
Yeah, and one thing I've noticed that and you yourself were part of the NXT, like in it, the formative years and how it is now. And then you look at the champions now and they all were in NXT and like really kind of got their careers really off the jump there. And so what is it about just the success of being able to be in NXT? How has that been able to translate to having that main roster success for so many of the like you yourself and also the younger stars as well?
Well, when I was a part of NXT, we had no expectation. We weren't a third brand. We were still considered the developmental program. So now to see that NXT is our third brand, I feel like there's a lot more pressure. But I also feel in saying that the women are also more prepared when they do come up. Because when we were in NXT, you didn't have as many men and women making the jump to Raw and SmackDown. Maybe one girl or one guy made it. Now you have I don't know, like 4 women at any given time could come up to Raw and SmackDown and be considered main roster talent, but also already have that little buzz to their character or name to them that the audience already feels like they know who they are. The transition isn't as big.
Mhm. Yeah, and so is there so do you feel like it's really seemingly gotten easier for to make that transition versus kind of say like you have this following at NXT but then you get to the main roster and you're still trying to figure out like whether people know who you are going to,
Yeah.
want to root for you or have a reaction to you whenever you're on screen.
Well, I don't want to take away their anyone's hard work by saying it's easier because it's not easy. You're learning how to wrestle, well, some of us, you're developing a character, but I think I wanna say kids, but I think the men and women in NXT just have more opportunity to protect their craft and get the exposure nationally or globally before they make that transition. I think that's the biggest difference 'cause, the recipe is the same. You have to work hard. You have to elicit a response from the fans. You have to get to know the fans. They have to get to know you. You have to, show up, show out, make a name. It's all the same. It's just I think there's more exposure, and that little bit of transition makes that a little bit easier because you're really not necessarily starting from scratch because NXT is now this big third brand.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, and it's clearly, has that popularity and then,
Yes.
seeing it on the main roster as well too. So, um, where do you kind of see this women's division kind of heading after, not necessarily like into a new chapter, but like kind of where you see headed, and who else do you think is going to be some of the big names that are going to help lead this along with you and some of the other established veterans as well?
I think the division is doing well now. I think it was doing well in the first evolution. I think it's continuing just to work hard and never settle. I don't want to say, we have this goal or we have this goal or we need to do this. I think storylines go up and down. Some are unforgettable and some are forgettable. Or some are great, some are not so great. So I think it's just continuously trying to work hard and elevate yourself as a performer. And as we do that collectively, I think bigger, and I don't want to say better, but just the opportunities and moments will just happen because we are collectively working together and we have that depth now with more players added to the division coming up from NXT. More girls are ready. So just to be able to see what we can do with that and having the opportunity to be on Netflix now, I think just adds that level of how do I say this? Exposure that we've never had before. So more eyeballs are on the product, which means also on Netflix, we need more content. So more people are getting the opportunity to be seen. So taking all these different pieces together and see how that helps and makes the women's division grow in whatever direction that looks like. I'm excited to see.
Yeah, and you'll get a taste of it this weekend. You'll be facing NXT stars, young people, established
I am
veterans.
so excited.
I know, like,
Yes.
it's
Zara
a
and
tag
Zora.
match, and it's a
It's
tag
a tag
match
match.
with,
Yes, it's a
yeah, and with
fatal
Ulrika.
four-way tag match. Yes, I'm
Yeah,
super excited.
yeah, and you having your tag partner in Alexa Bliss is also very, cool because you guys have had a
Yeah.
long history. Like, you can go all the way back to when you guys did Triple H's entrance at
Don't
WrestleMania
tell her
30.
this, but I adore her. Yes, I'm very excited. She definitely, just I respect her so much professionally or personally, but professionally, she definitely brings out a softer side to my character. And we do have this unique, rich history. And I think I know Alexa was interviewed recently, but I think it's because we both had this chip on our shoulder that we didn't come from the independents or the indies. So I was a gymnast, she was a cheerleader. Well, really, I was a volleyball player. Um, so we both showed up with no prior experience. And I think we both understand what that's like and what that feels like not to have that experience. So I think we bonded over that. But over the years, we've had many different interactions, but never a long-term story or partners. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, and it's crazy to see like the development of your guys' career from where you guys started to what it's like now, and it has to have been an amazing journey to see, where she's gone and how she's come back now, and also the same thing for you, right?
Yeah, and especially, I mean, also her being a new mother and seeing her come back better than she's ever been, seeing the crowd reception at the Royal Rumble, I'd say it was the best of the night.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Seeing all the different layers from being the goddess, to part of the Wyatts, now a tag team with me. It's fun to see her back in the mix. I've always I don't know if I've ever said this on record, but Lexi to me was the fifth horsewoman. So I'm excited to see what happens next.
And just for you personally, this has been uh, a great year for you coming back, from the injury. And it feels like since we've seen you on screen, we've kind of seen a more vulnerable side of you, it feels like a more authentic version of yourself. And when you think about just, where you're at in this stage of your career, is this kind of like the most authentic you've ever felt, like being on screen?
I had a few interactions right before I got injured with Shotzi and Bianca. I felt like I didn't have all this pressure on me. I was just having fun, also doing house shows with EO. But I feel like since I've come back, a little bit of that pressure has been taken off. And I think having the opportunity to be paired with Lexley does take off the pressure because I'm not in the main title scene at the moment, even though Charlotte always wants all the gold and a spotlight on her. But seeing what that looks like, and I don't think from a fan perspective we've ever seen Charlotte have to, what does it look like her trying to climb that mountain again? Um, so yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes. But yeah,
Yeah.
I do feel just from a character standpoint, a lot less pressure,
Mhm.
maybe. And also, I've been back, what, 6 months? Um, I'm back in the groove. I think when you're not in it for a year and a half, it really does, take a minute to, sort out the kinks.
Mhm. Yeah, and I had read your Players Tribune post that went live this morning, and it was an amazing thing to read. And yeah, I'm sure a lot of people appreciated the vulnerability you had, and just learning who you really are, both on screen and away from the screen. And as a WWE star, like it's hard to be that vulnerable because all everyone knows is what they see on camera. Like
Yeah.
no one really knows who you really are. So how hard is it to kind of be vulnerable and be like yourself when you're making your way to the ring or you're appearing on social media, like it's Charlotte Flair.
It was so hard that I actually started writing that piece right after WrestleMania 39 with Rhea. And then I flaked, and it actually all ended up working out because obviously there was a lot more story to be told. So I'm actually glad that I didn't feel confident and comfortable then. Um I think the biggest challenge for me personally and professionally is I'm a perfectionist. So every time my music hits, whether I'm in the ring, backstage, or whatever I'm trying to do, I always feel, no matter what the segment is, the pressure to be perfect, and kind of letting that perfectionism of the queen character not unravel, but be like, oh, she's kind of goofy. And just add those little elements of how I would handle things privately versus the queen, like so arrogant, so cold, not open to people. I think trying to blend the two will just add layers to the queen that we've seen so stoic for so many years. It's just because I felt like the character had to be perfect, because I always wanted the title to be the most important thing in the women's division. So competing for the title, one, I always took very seriously. I always wanted it to be super competitive, and it meant the most to me. But in reality, it's the quirks and the layers and the trials and tribulations that take you to get to the title that make those characters fun. And I think Charlotte kind of showing what it means that she's not at the top, or that she has lost, or what does that look like for the character, and adding that to with my real life.
Yeah, and adding that layer, I think like diving into that, I think it also played into like one of my favorite lines you had in that piece was that you want to play out your career, not age out of it. And I think, it hit me when you said,
Yes.
yeah, and it hit me when you said that because, like it is true. Like, like we have men stars that are, wrestling into their late 40s, into their 50s. And it feels like, for women stars, it's been rare for that to happen. And so how are you, approaching the fact that you want to continue this career and it's not just going to be like, oh, I'll be done in a couple of years. Like I want to keep going as long as I want to keep going.
I I definitely feel like I put in the piece, the pressures being a woman, where I'm constantly worried about time. Like I've got to get everything in now because I'm not going to have it in 2 years, or if I want to be able to have kids, and all of that pressure, but just kind of like taking that minute in that moment and realizing I don't know what the future looks like, but that it's definitely going to be on my terms, and, not try to let go of some of those pressures I feel being a woman, because it's not perfect. It is hard. It is scary. And when you love what you do, you never want to think that there's an expiration date on that because of, society norms, or, I know female athletes feel this all the time. So, it's just more trying not to always have that in the back of my head.
Yeah. And it feels like right now you're setting yourself up to where you are going to be able to do this for pretty much until
Yeah,
you want to stop doing this. Right.
yeah,
Awesome.
I
And
think so.
yeah, and I mean, like, and who doesn't who wouldn't want that in their career, like, being able to be like, "Oh, like, maybe," like, being like softly kicked out is not anyone and the way anyone wants to go.
No, absolutely not. I won't go down without a fight.
And then one of the last things I wanted to ask was, you know, you have so many accolades, and you've talked about, you know, kind of like, you know, the different side of Charlotte that we're seeing on screen. Is there kind of a number that you're trying to put on how many titles you're still trying to collect? I mean, 14-time women's champion. You got, if you include NXT, I think it's what, 16, and you have women's tag team. You could be getting more this weekend. So is is there just going to be more and more gold just on your mind?
I think beating my dad's record will always kind of be in the back of my mind because I am so close.
Hmm.
Um, but what's most important to me, I think right now is finding layers for the character and what does that look like? And that next like great story and whatever, you know, the start of Lexi and I is and what it turns into, I'm looking forward to, but really just pushing myself to get outside of my comfort zone of what the queen is and what does that look like? Is it the mad queen? Is it the killer queen? Is it the unraveled queen? Is it, you know, best friends with Lexi and being a, you know, a twisted queen? I don't, what does that look like? And all those are just, none of those things are at the forefront, but how do I push myself as a performer to take what I've done to the next step? And whether that means winning gold or not winning gold, I'm okay with that. I just want to challenge myself because I do love this.
Yeah, and it's clearly evident that you do. And I know, sorry, just really quick, I know you mentioned beating your dad's record, and you mentioned you got to talk to John Cena about, you know, after he did it. So was there
Yeah.
kind of like mixed feelings seeing John break your dad's record, but also at the same time being like, oh, like I grew up watching John Cena and he finally did it type of thing.
No, there wasn't any. I get asked this question a lot, like, "Were you sad?" And I'm like, "No, I really like it's John Cena. Like, how could you be sad with John Cena breaking the record?" And I say this, my dad would say the same thing. I think for me, it's the competition or the wanting to break the record was never, or you know, and it still blows my mind that I use Charlotte Flair and John Cena in the same sentence because I don't put them in the same category. But that I'm like chasing him to break the record. But no, he broke the record. To me, it's like it was, I wanted to break my dad's record. But I will say this, John Cena did say at the press conference when he came back, when he wins 17, he didn't say, "I'm waiting for the man to beat the record." He said the person. So that was also like the fact that he took, I don't know this at all. I'm just saying he said person and he didn't say man. He could have said that. So I'm like, "Oh, that was really cool of him." Whether he thought about that or didn't, he said the person who beats my record. But that could be taken a million different ways.
Yeah, but I mean, you could take it yourself as like, oh yeah, I can be that person that breaks that record. Sure, why not me? Type of thing, you know?
I Yes, but I mean, in that moment, I just was like, "Oh, he didn't say man, he said person." And I thought that was just spoke volumes, but no, it's like I want to break my all of it's great. Records are meant to be broken, and I couldn't
Absolutely.
be more happy for John and the fact that I get to be a part of the roster while he's on his retirement tour. I mean, he's the epitome of what this business is and should be and what he stands for.